When it comes time to rebuild and recover, many people are left wondering, where do I even start? And who's here to help me? That's why many people have come here. What we learned is that there were about 8 vehicles involved. We said 4 or 5. That was just what we saw get towed away.
We just walked up here from Four Freedoms with this group that's at the end here. We're going to turn up the street corner, and I'm going to have Bernardo lift the camera up above his head and try to give you an idea for how wide that goes.
Especially on hilly side roads like these. We know that there was a plane crash. We know that nobody has died. There's only one person who's minorly injured here in the 1000 block of Stewart Avenue. The other was another shooting here on the 900 block of Clay Street.
This is how high the water got around the back of the school here. And areas like this ramp and down into the basement were completely submerged.
I'm Brady Williams in Princeton, where locals, not this guy, say that this is the most snow they've seen in years.
This kid was the best thing that ever happened to me. Perfect, beautiful, always smiling, just happy.
In the past week, Stephen Schaefer's life has completely changed. First, he lost his wife Braylon in a car crash last Friday on the Audubon Parkway. Injured in the crash, his 1-year-old son Weston was flown to Louisville for intensive care. But when Stephen arrived, the doctors had more bad news.
It was such an unreal moment that somebody's sitting there looking at me, telling me that this is it. His heart kept beating, his lungs kept pumping, and he was relentless.
He says after a while, Weston grabbed his finger and responded to his touch.
I think Weston was kind enough to tell his papa goodbye. Once they did the test and they declared him to be, 100% brain dead, that little heart was still beating.
Stephen's whole family was there to say goodbye.
And they were all standing in that room, watching that heartbeat, watching those lungs, and that's when I knew this was important. This is what he was supposed to do, and this is why we are all here.
Inspired by Weston's strength, Stephen offered his son's body for organ donation.
And the minute that everything went through, they told us that phone was going off.
Hundreds of calls came in, all people eager for something that could save their children's lives. Something Weston could provide.
Like my little kid, my beautiful baby boy, he was a hero, dude. He got a medal. And it's the second highest honor that just a civilian can get. It was this beautiful medal. And they wanted to let us know that your son's a hero.
Stephen was told of a 6-month-old boy who has never been able to eat.
My little ham, my little eating machine. He got Weston's tummy.
He says it's allowing him to move through grief.
That 6-month-old that's going to get to enjoy those awesome meals, we fed that tummy for 13 months. They're going to know. That was Weston Tank Samuel Schaefer's tummy in there, because he's going to be craving some chicken nuggets and some Cocoa Puffs, and they're going to be doing some grocery shopping.
Weston's donations have already helped 37 children. More are on the way.
We get to this. We can smile. We can be proud. We can be happy.
Jesse Johnson was at the center of a tornado that ripped through Earlington Friday night.
They say it sounds like a train. It's a lot worse than a train.
The storm tore his father's neighborhood just off of Hopkinsville Road to shreds.
We have multiple houses damaged in this particular area. We have a train derailment that appears to be as a result of the tornado at the same time.
Johnson says they knew about the storm too late, so they did what they could to protect themselves.
Me and my wife were in the hallway underneath the mattress, and then my mom and dad and my niece and nephew and her boyfriend was under the kitchen table.
As the winds roared, those under the table found themselves struck with bits of broken glass and debris as the front of the house was torn away.
I know I grabbed my husband's hand, and I told him I loved him, and I started praying.
The neighbors who spoke with 14 News say only a few families were in a similar situation, as most had evacuated.
But there were some people and children that were found in a bathtub that were okay.
Fortunately, most everyone was okay.
There were some injuries. Did not appear to be anything life-threatening.
But sometimes the pain felt when the dust settles is far from physical.
It got real quiet after, and I told everybody just wait, because it might not be over. So we waited a few minutes, and then we came out.
The Johnsons say they're not sure what they'll do next. They're just glad they can still do it together.
These events were extremely different. One was a celebration, a group happy to see the court change its stance and excited to see future bans. The other was a protest, a march through the heart of the city, desperately hoping their rights won't slip away.
At 4:30 on Friday, Right to Life Southwest invited anti-abortion advocates to the pedestrian bridge near Van Avenue. For them, it was a celebration.
Today is a victorious day for those in the pro-life movement. We've been waiting almost 50 years for this to be overturned.
Just across the city, people gathered at the Four Freedoms Monument. It was a march to the old courthouse and the federal building. For them, a plea to keep a right.
Women and people with uteruses who actually do care and who are here now are being stripped of their rights, and it's a giant lose and a giant slap in the face for us.
For the folks at the Right to Life event, the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade was an example of the system working.
Supreme Court finally overruling an unjust decision from the 70s and giving rights back to the states where they belong.
But for the hundreds gathered at the federal building, chanting, crying, it was an exercise in oppression, one that marks an uncertain future.
They're completely taking away our rights, and this is just the beginning. This is the start of what's to come. In the bill, they talked about same-sex marriage and even contraceptive.
Others shared their anxieties over the safety of women.
A lot of women are going to die because this isn't going to stop abortions. It's going to stop safe abortions.
Folks at the Right to Life rally pointed out that the court's decision does not ban abortions, but rather opens up states to decide if abortions should be legal. They say that brings the decision closer to voters.
That's democracy. That's what our republic's about. That's what our Constitution is about. It is not about, preventing people from getting what they want, unfortunately. If I had my way, it'd be all the way.
With the right to an abortion no longer guaranteed and the decision in the hands of states, all eyes at both events have turned to Indianapolis. In the coming weeks, Governor Eric Holcomb will gather the General Assembly to determine the fate of abortion rights in Indiana.
Governor Holcomb has said that he'll be convening the Assembly on July 6th. Tomorrow, protests are planned at the state capitol, and I've been told many of the people at today's rallies will be there as well.